going. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Search Podcast. I'm Elliot Manning, the Managing Director of Kayman Recruitment. We are a rhetoric business based out in the US and in London as well. I've got a special guest with me today on a special episode, Katie Maycock, who is joining me to talk more about mental health in recruitment. It's something that I've seen and can imagine from being a rhetoric a hell of a lot of, in the last, I wouldn't even say in the last 6 months, the last 8 years of dealing this market. And I think it'd be good to get someone, with Katie's background and kind of interest in the market to come talk to you guys and girls. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, Katie.
Hi, so thank you so much, Elliot, for having me on. So my name's Katie Maycock. I run a business called Get Your Shit Together, literally and figuratively, where I work with senior executives, CEOs, leadership teams, talking about the impact that stress and anxiety has on the body and the mind.
Yep.
So I set this up pretty much because I've burnt out twice while sales and recruitment. So it's definitely a really good topic to talk about.
So how long have you been doing this for now in total?
So I started this is such a weird story. I started Get Your Shit Together when I lived in Costa Rica, and I think that was about 3-4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
But prior to that, I had been doing something like this. Pretty much my background is as a nutritionist, then gut health specialist, which then evolved into looking at the impact that stress has on the body. So Get Your Shit Together, though, has been going around for about 3 years.
Fine. And sorry if you've just sort of kind of, mentioned this before, but is the Get Your Shit Together, is that specifically focused on just recruitment itself? Is there other CEOs and other peers and owners and, in other sectors or industries that you kind of end up dealing with?
Yeah, so I work across all different sectors, but because I used to work in recruitment, a lot of my clients are recruitment owners and MDs. So I think I've naturally sort of gone into that realm.
And I can imagine everyone's probably thinking this right now. Are you kind of busier than ever with everything that's been going on? Is it something that's been pretty hectic for you? Is it kind of continuous throughout the years? Or
Yeah, no, it's been really busy. So I moved here around 2.5 years ago now.
Yep.
And it's been pretty busy from that point on. However, I've got to say the last 6 to 9 months, a lot more companies have sort of been going, okay, like we need to not only take care of our own mental health and our own physical health and manage stress better, but we need to start really taking care of our teams. So it's definitely gotten quite a bit busier in the last, I would say, 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, fine. Do you feel that other people in recruitment are reaching out to you that have just maybe started out at all levels? Are they kind of looking to, seek some help and advice?
Yeah, so I have to say I've had a lot of people reaching out, of all levels, whether you're a consultant, whether you're a resource or whatever it is. I've had a lot of people reaching out going, hey, this is a really stressful job. Like, how do I manage my mental health? How do I get through the ups and the downs of recruitment? So
yeah, fine. Yeah. And do you feel that, like, with this whole thing that's been going on, this global pandemic, I mean, look, mental health's been such a massive topic across, I think every time I go on LinkedIn, there's something on there about mental health, right? Has there been different ways and means and I wouldn't say, avenues that people can go down to help themselves that you recommend and, that you've seen or are trying out at the minute? Or
So what I have noticed about mental health in general, I think that it's been brought to the forefront in 2020. However, the last 5 years, it's definitely been gaining a little bit of steam in regards to the way we talk about it, the way that we view mental health. I would say there's a lot more people coming out now offering services and trying to help executive levels or people in corporate manage stress, because that's actually an area that hasn't really embraced it as much as other industries potentially. But there's definitely a lot more talk around it. There's a lot more services going out about it at the moment, for sure.
Yeah. Can you tell me a bit more about the whole, everyone's got like this whole big thing at the minute about being a champion of mental health. And I know that Rhonda's doing an unbelievable job trying to promote this and it's going incredibly well. Can you tell, the listeners a bit more about that?
Yeah, so Mental Health in Recruitment is Rhonda D'Ambrosio's baby. So if you do not know Rhonda, you have to go check her out.
Yeah.
But Rhonda actually approached me, it's got to be at the beginning of this year. I think out of COVID, she's probably one of the greatest things that's come out of it for me is meeting Rhonda. But Rhonda created Mental Health in Recruitment, and she's slowly but surely been gathering people to champion mental health
Yeah.
and recruitment, and really start changing the conversation about mental health and recruitment. So
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough to be one of the ambassadors and
Yep.
talk a lot more about it, but there's definitely a lot of talk about it. That's really realistically what we really want to do. We want to highlight that, hey, recruitment's no different to any other industry. There's definitely mental health, whether good or bad, everyone has mental health.
Yeah.
But we do need to change the conversation. We do need to drive change in the industry, because recruitment isn't something like a normal job. It really isn't. It really is a lot more stressful than other industries,
Definitely.
from my experience and from my personal opinion. So it's definitely Rhonda's baby, but it's something that I'm super
That's
passionate
amazing.
about, something that I can't express how excited I am to be a part of.
And having this on there, and just generally with your background and your LinkedIn profile, are you finding out that, that people are approaching you a lot more now than they ever have done? And people are beginning to realize that, it's important to open up. I mean, I've done a lot of different challenges for mental health myself. And, I know how important it is, and having, being a business owner, having done I'd had my own mental health challenges, I know that it's the best thing to do is to talk to someone. So have you seen that be a bit more of a common occurrence?
I would say that, I've been fortunate enough that I've been working in this area for quite a few years now. So, I have, doing the mental health and recruitment and joining mental health and recruitment was just sort of an additional thing. But prior to that, I've had a lot of companies reach out and a lot of business owners going, hey, how do I talk about mental health? How do I help my teams? So it's been, to be fair, I would actually say the last 18 months significantly has increased people reaching out. So there's definitely a lot of companies. I think the biggest issue when it comes to recruitment companies and owners and business leaders, they know that there's a problem, but they're not quite sure on how to manage it. And I think it's not necessarily that they don't want to do something. It's just like, well, how do we tackle this? It's such an important topic, but it's definitely got a lot of challenges with it in itself. So a lot of companies are really wanting to help their staff. They just don't know how.
Fine. And
I've had a lot of people reach out for that.
Is there any kind of really short tips you could provide now while we're on this podcast? Is there something that you can, without giving too much away, is there one or two things that you can recommend?
I think the biggest thing is are we talking about just leaders, or are we talking about in general?
Let's talk about one for leaders, one for in general.
Yeah. So I think with leaders, the first thing that I would be saying to leaders is focus on your mental health. Get yourself, understand your mental health a bit better, because it will help with the empathy and the understanding of how other people are feeling as well. So, just imagine you're a really stressed out leader and you're trying to tell your team, don't be stressed out. It's kind of a bit difficult to do that. So really making sure that you're taking care of yourself. I talk a lot about the impact that stress has on the body. So really making sure that you are doing physical health things, like making sure that you're getting enough sleep, making sure that you are eating the right types of foods, limiting your alcohol. Do not hate me for saying that, but limiting your alcohol a little bit, and really taking care of the physical health side. And I think on just, that's it for anyone. Really, anyone can take those tips, looking at physically the things that you can be doing. One of the biggest things that I tell people to do in general is to make sure you have a switch on time and a switch off time with work. Because of technology, people wake up and the first thing that they do is check their emails, check their WhatsApp messages, check all their technology. And they're starting work at 6 a.m. in the morning, but we haven't factored that in. Yeah. So actually creating a schedule of okay, I'm going to switch on at this time and actually switch off at a proper time in the evening. So you can have that proper time to check in with yourself. Go, how am I feeling? How am I actually doing, rather than reacting to someone else's wants, needs, and desires? So that's something that I think a lot of people need to do.
Fine. And would you say that kind of crosses over, did you say to the individuals as well as the leaders, and just in general, right?
Just people in general need to know that.
I had this conversation with someone, and I won't name names, but ultimately they kind of made a comment that was quite controversial. And they said to me, look, if you've got mental health issues and you're trying to deal with them, you've got two options. One is you can either do some activity to try and, to beat it and try and get over it, or get around it. But then ultimately, it's not dealing with the problem as much as it would be talking to somebody. What do you, I didn't agree or disagree. I was just taking on the comment, but do you agree, or do you think that's What do you think on
I
that?
think it has to be multifaceted. I don't think there's one way to look at it. So for some people, they get really stressed out and they can go to the gym and they're like, I feel so much better. That's helped me. But other people, they need a little extra help. So the way that I work is I look at your physical health and your mindset, and we combine the two together. So we definitely have to look at, like, exercise can be an amazing tool to use to help you manage stress. If you look at the physiology of it all, if you're feeling stressed out, you've got cortisol, you've got adrenaline, and when you exercise, you release endorphins, which can actually combat those. However, if you're still reacting like in the mindset and mentally towards stress and to other situations, then you have to be able to manage that as well. It's not just a one-way street. It's like, hey, just do some exercise, you'll be right. Like that'll help you. It's like, that's not realistic for a lot of people.
What's your response to those that turn around and say to you, I just don't have time for it? I don't have any time. When am I going to fit that in? I go home, I've got kids, I'm at work all day from 8 till 8. How do I make that work?
Honestly, with those people, I always look at what's a small commitment that you can do every single day to help you. So whether that's even just, hey, you have a lunch break, why can't you go outside, sit outside for a little bit, go for a bit of a walk, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I don't care how long it is. Have that separation and that break, because at the end of the day, a lot of us have developed incredibly unhealthy bad habits, and they're the reasons why we're not taking our physical health and our mental health seriously, because we feel like we don't have time, because we've created a situation where we've potentially just got some bad habits that we've created, and finding small ways to even just get a little bit of exercise in, or changing that one bit of diet, or finding that 5 minutes to do a little bit of meditation, or just quiet time realistically can really be helpful. So I always look at where you're at and find 5 minutes where you can change that 5 minutes.
No, I completely agree. There's a guy that works for me, and he won't mind me sharing this, in New York. And he was so trapped in his apartment during lockdown that he was just didn't know what to do with himself, right? And it was concentration levels that just didn't exist. So, I basically said to him, no, I don't want to know until you've gone for a walk. And even if that means starting late, finishing early, or extending your lunch, go for a walk. You have to do it. And I think a lot of business owners need to encourage that a little bit more, is that even if it means them coming in a little bit later, finishing earlier, go and get it done.
I always say to leaders, lead from the front. So if you want people to actually be productive and have downtime, because I talk about the detox of the brain, like if you're constantly at work and you're constantly taking in information, your brain is trying to figure out what information is important and what it's not important. So if you're constantly overloading it, it's not healthy for you. So if leaders really want to have their teams have those proper lunch breaks and get the best out of them, lead from the front. Make sure you switch off your laptop, go sit somewhere else and have lunch, instead of actually sitting at your desk and eating lunch, and create that. I speak to a lot of leaders and they're like, I don't want my teams to be burnt out, and I don't want them to feel stressed, and I don't expect them to work the same hours that I work, but they're sending emails to eating lunch or breakfast, dinner, or whatever it is. It's like, we naturally, as humans, we do want to conform to the people that we perceive as leaders. So we have to lead from the front. That's what I talk to a lot of leaders about.
I don't think I think I must have done about 400-500K of running over a couple of months at that point, and I don't think that encouraged him enough. So I was just like, look, I've just get out, just go for a walk. You don't have to do any of that. But no, I completely agree with you. And
you can just go for a 5-minute walk.
I know. He doesn't have to go running or anything like over the top what I was trying to achieve, But no, look, everybody's different. Just more on the kind of, cover note in terms of like recruiters who are listening to this, that are sitting at work, get out there, go and do some walking, go and do something. But if they want to talk to you, Katie, your door's open always for them to have a chat with you and, ask you whatever they want and figure things out. But look, as I said, at the beginning, mental health is coming up so much more across every single bit of social media that I've seen, especially with this global pandemics. Mental health has become, I suppose it's just gone through the roof, unfortunately, for a lot of people. But it's one of those things that there's plenty of people like yourself out there, myself, anyone that's part of, mental health and recruitment, they can, talk to you, they'll figure it out. There's always a solution.
I think the biggest thing that if people want more information is make sure to go check out Mental Health and Recruitment. I think they're on all the socials, so even go check it out on LinkedIn as well. Rhonda's really, really passionate about providing information and providing some resources there coming up in the future that you can access. And I think that that's a really big thing. And I think there are a lot of people out there that you can talk to. So finding that right person is really important. But, you know, if happy for people to reach out to me, my door's always open. So
no, definitely. Listen, look, Katie, I know it's been short and sweet, but I really appreciate your time. You know, I wanted to share this with everybody out there that listens, you know, is listening to this, to actually, you know, put this message across and, you know, make a point that, you know, this we're here. But ultimately, you know, it's not just us, there's everybody there. If there's any questions, I'll be putting your, you know, name towards this and everything that everyone needs to get in contact. And if they've got any questions, just reach out. But pleasure having you on here, Katie. Really appreciate your time.
thanks so much.
And I'll make sure that, you know, we'll definitely stay in touch. And yeah, anything you need, just give us a shout.
No, thank you for having me on.
Take care. I'll speak to you very soon.
Yep. Bye.